Hi, my name is Dr. John Douillard, and I want to talk to you today about the difference between soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. Now, we all know we should eat a high fiber diet. Studies show that by eating a high fiber diet, we reduce our risk of cardiovascular disease by a whopping 40%. Problem is that most Americans eat about half the amount of fiber they should eat. The other problem is that we don't really know which kind of fiber is best. We have soluble fibers, which actually break down in water and become kind of gooey, like oatmeal or psyllium or those kinds of things that actually dissolve in water, therefore they're soluble. And we have insoluble fibers, which are not soluble. That's like vegetables and celery and leafy greens. They don't actually break down. The fiber, the cellulose in those vegetables don't really have a nutritional value. The soluble fibers don't have nutritional value either. They actually do different things. The soluble fibers tend to kind of coat and gel up the intestinal wall, and they protect it from absorbing sugars too fast, so they can be really good for lowering blood sugar. They actually hook on to the bile, which is carrying yucky, toxic cholesterol all the way into the toilet. So those soluble fibers will hook on to that bile and cholesterol and capture it. And then the insoluble fibers, the vegetables and the greens and the cellulose, will escort that all the way out into the toilet and get it out of our body. Also, soluble fibers have been linked to reduction in cardiovascular disease. That's why it says on the label of Cheerios, it's a heart healthy breakfast, because of the oats, which are naturally occurring soluble fibers. So we have these soluble fibers which seem to be really good for heart disease and really good for diabetes and good for cholesterol. And in fact, what's happening is a lot of folks are saying, well, if you have heart disease, eat more soluble fiber. If you have more high cholesterol, eat more soluble fiber. And we're starting to diagnose and prescribe certain types of fibers for certain types of conditions. Now, there's insoluble fibers that are really good for kind of bulking agents, all the extra vegetables and all the greens, the roughage that clean out and sweep your intestinal tract. They're alkaline and they maintain the pH of your intestinal wall so bad bacteria don't proliferate. That doesn't allow, it actually is shown to be preventative for colon cancer. It's phenomenally important for constipation so you don't get constipated. It removes toxins out of the gut. If you didn't have the greens and the insoluble fibers, then even though the soluble fibers will attach onto the yucky cholesterol and toxins coming out of your liver, they're not going to go anywhere unless you have the good green insoluble fibers to get rid of them. So those fibers will just stay there, and if they don't get out of your body, up to 94% of those toxins can reabsorb back into your liver, go right into your blood, and cause damage to your arteries. So it really, what we really need is we need both, actually, and most foods, thank God, have both. There are certain foods in nature that are emphasizing one or the other. Like soluble fibers are found in lots of grains and barley and nuts and seeds and beans and peas, a little bit in some fruits and vegetables. So they're found in some of anything that turns gooey when you cook it is going to have some soluble fibers in it. The insoluble fibers are really, like I said, the cellulose in vegetables, the skins of fruits. Wheat bran is also a great source of it, and lots of whole grains have natural insoluble fibers as well. So, what do we do about it? Well, I'm not a big fan of saying, well, if you have this condition, take more of this kind of fiber or that kind of fiber. Boy, that gets real complicated. What I would suggest is we go back to kind of our Ayurvedic wisdom, which says that, in the certain times of the year, certain fibers are needed more than others. Now, every food mostly has a natural blend of the two, but nature tends to emphasize those fibers. In the winter, when it's cold and it's dry, we harvest the nuts and the seeds and the grains and the things that sort of become more gooey and the oats. So the soluble fibers are harvested more abundantly in the wintertime when we want to antidote the dryness and the coldness of winter. Imagine coating your gut with this nice lubricating gel. That's what soluble fiber does. It actually helps to hook onto some of these toxins and it protects the gut wall. So these soluble fibers are more abundant during the winter months, and they help to pull toxins, but they also help, more importantly, to protect and insulate the gut from the tendency to be more dry. Makes perfect sense, right? In the winter, you're cold and dry. You want these warm, oily, kind of unctuous, gel-like substances to coat the intestinal wall. In addition, because your intestinal wall is where you absorb everything, all your nutrition. If that's dried out, it's just not going to work as good. It's also where our immune system is pretty much housed. 80% is right there. And if it's dried out and irritated and inflamed, it's not going to function well at all. So this is a natural way of protecting our immune system, because 80% of the immune system is right there in the gut. Now in the summer, the rules change. In the summertime, we have fruits and vegetables, and that's when you're eating abundant amounts of fruits and vegetables, and those are insoluble. Lots and lots of roughage. What's interesting, that the digestive fire, and we've talked about this in the past, becomes weaker in the summer. The digestive fire kind of dials down because we don't want to overheat. Historically, anthropologically speaking, if we were overheated, we wouldn't survive. So nature has all these checks and balances to make sure that this human body did not overheat, particularly when it was very hot outside. In the summer, the digestive fire dials down. Good news, the foods that we harvest are cooked on the vine. All summer long, the foods are cooked on the vine. So when we eat them, they're already pre-cooked for us. We don't need to cook them inside of ourselves. They're cooked by nature outside. How good is that? But also what happens is we also still accumulate a lot of heat. And from the Ayurvedic perspective, when you have a lot of insoluble fiber, fruits and vegetables, it purgates. It helps you move your bowels quicker. That's why we use it to help prevent against constipation. It flushes your system. And that's the way, Ayurvedically speaking, we get rid of heat in the body, by purgating, keeping the body moving the waste out. Also, when the digestion becomes weak, the elimination can also slow down in the summertime. So these insoluble fibers help to move toxins out of the intestinal wall, and they move a lot of the bulk through the intestinal wall a lot faster. So during a weak digestive system where you may tend towards a sluggish bowel function or eliminative function, then these insoluble fibers will flush the system, attach to the soluble fibers, and escort them out of the body as well, taking the toxins with them, and also scrub the intestinal wall and make sure that that alkaline, insoluble fruits and veggies cellulose can actually maintain an environment of pH that actually allows the good bacteria to flourish. So, bottom line here is that, yes, we should have both soluble and insoluble fibers. Nature is always emphasizing based on the season. So this is what I wrote my book, The 3-Season Diet, about. Please go to the article associated with this video, and I actually give you links to these grocery lists for the winter, summer, and spring grocery lists, where you can look and see what nature had in mind when it talked about harvesting different foods at different seasons. Those are clearly what I would call the medicines of nature. It's nature's prescription to keep us healthy, and a big part of that prescription is the proper amount of fiber at the right amount, in the right amount at the right time. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard.